XCOM 2 is a story that everyone can relate to and will hold near and dear to your heart. Second Amendment and illegal immigrants. Since the world has fallen, we lost our freedom, fast food, and more importantly, they even brought free healthcare.
Motherfucker!
It's our patriotic duty to restore our independence so we can go back to what we do best, spreading the joys of terrorism, sabotage, and false hope. Kind of like Jesus, except instead of bread, we turn the aliens into Swiss cheese. Lands are thin and resources are scarce. That's why today we'll be taking on the entire alien army all alone, by utilizing guerrilla warfare, which is in fact a form of strategy and not actual guerrillas apparently. See, you're meant to play the game as a squad where each member fulfills a certain tactical role to give you the best chances of success. But I hate success, as you can clearly tell from my upload schedule. In order to make this work, I'm choosing a faction that will grant us access to certain advantages that I won't name now, but I'd rather keep it a surprise. Disabling the tutorial and choosing veteran difficulty because I don't hate my life yet, we are still forced to do a tutorial mission at gunpoint, serving not only as a short introduction to how the game is going to be played, but also why we're going to be carefully choosing our main soldier. And spoiler alert, things are going to be exploding. Like, a lot. Your ship serves as a main base of operations, where our crew fill specific roles such as research and engineering. Usually, you'd be going around trying to scrape by as many people as possible, equip your troops with the best weapons, but there's nothing usual about sending in just one guy. That means we don't need any of that. Each mission shows you potential rewards that you can ignore, unlocking more recruits or supplies for expansion, but actually, the most valuable resource we have, is it time? Yes. And it's time for us to send our recently promoted soldier on a suicide. Highly important, totally not a test mission. Gauge just how much I'm going to start hating my life in the next 15 to 20 hours. Alright, good job everyone. The mission was actually a success. Because now we know what not to do. And what we're not going to do is report this to anyone. And maybe we might not stand in front of the firing squad tomorrow. Now, we're going to be choosing our targets more carefully, missions so precise that a lot of civilians are probably going to die. For the good of the earth, of course. Still, in order to make this work, we need someone who can actually complete the mission, which is where the Reapers come in. The faction specializes in stealthy operations with highly trained soldiers. But first, we need to make contact with them, whilst also trying to prevent a war with a different faction, which is in fact a splinter group run by aliens? What? Since we picked up the Reaper's start, we get to unlock them early. We only have to escort them through a city, surrounded by the Lost, and explosions, which in fact attract more zombies. Reapers have an ability to roll the dice every time they shoot, and if you're lucky, you might stay hidden, but it is my playthrough, so the supply of that is going to be very limited, unlike our ammunition. Now, for the part 2, we needed to escort the alien for the chat with our newly acquired ally through oh my god. He is like the opposite of stealth. Obviously, now we were in for a fight, and the only way out was through the horde. I mean, there's no reason to be stealthy anymore, right? We were making our way to the extraction with great haste, but the game found new ways to motivate us. The meeting went on as well as one would have expected, and before the rigorous lovemaking could ensue at the great dismay of the rest of the squad, we got interrupted by a Sith Lord of the Chosen, uniting the squad into an unlikely alliance. Meanwhile, I was trying not to soil my pants and attempting to revive my dazed soldiers. It took all of our combined effort and skill to banish her back into the Shadow Realm. Then after what seemed to be an entire population of Detroit started converging in our position, we made it out safely and without any issues. That was the end of the official report. What actually happened was right before we got out, the Chosen came back and snatched one of our chickens away. Meaning I won't have to explain to the crew why we have an alien on board, and I might not get strangled in my sleep. Now this is where the real game was about to begin. Our new recruit went through a rigorous exercise regimen required by all XCOM soldiers, as well as adopt an alias name. One man. To further confuse our enemy, she grew a beard and an afro. We continued to develop our base while only imagining what kind of insidious plots the aliens were brooding. When the resistance comes up, now able to establish contacts in different regions to further our support. Even though we were still conducting research of weapons and alien anatomy, improving our readiness, they were clearly familiar with our pop culture and decided to strike back, introducing a whole new genre of missions. Their goal, kill all the civilians and rebels in hiding. Our goal, save just enough of them to still get paid at the end of the month. Now, time to put our new soldier to the test, taking the stealthy approach. To my surprise, not all the civilians are actually civilians. And the game is full of surprises. Luckily, the power of safe scumming saved the day. And we even recovered more bodies for research, which pleased the council overlord, increasing our monthly supply to the grand total of 217 supplies. whatever that means. First month was a success, but it's not just us who are on the move this time. See, giving us a total of 5 weeks before the next terror mission. With no time to waste, we established contact with a known resistance group and began covert operations. More regions to unlock, it's going to be a while before we have a strong network, as we need a lot of intel. In the meantime, the aliens started a project of their own, something called the Avatar. But the only bending they'll be doing is bending over. I decided to actually try and be stealthy, otherwise this will be the shortest campaign ever. It was surprisingly easy, as running around with a rifle in the United States is pretty common. This is where it gets fun. Reapers have an ability called Remote Start, which basically turns any vehicle or container into a weapon of ass destruction. Best part? It's all completely stealthy, baby. Since the AI has no idea where to look, they all just huddle up next to where you might have been before, which coincidentally was also next to a car. If I shoot enemies when property damage is way more fun and successful, giving us more abilities and plus rep. So remember that alien boy that got captured a while back? We managed to find where he's being held. And to rescue him, we send in a rescue team. And by rescue team, I mean one guy. These missions are easy, as getting past turrets and patrols and just clicking one button. If we do break cover, then we're just visible through the wall and suddenly everyone's trying to get a piece of that ass. And each injury, even if the mission is successful, is a potential risk, because they can't do missions when they're injured, and no mission means no resources, in addition to your soldiers developing PTSD. Chance of panic when squad mate panics. Fascinating. But hey, at least we saved the alien from the aliens, which actually unlocked a new faction, as well as the ability to speed up all construction projects by 50%. Before we do that though, we have an emergency mission to attack and capture valuable supplies. This is where using your environment comes into play, as we can use explosions to attract a horde of zombies, and the Sith, and let them fight it out as we move around capturing supplies until a perfect opportunity to strike appears, resulting in a somewhat clean and efficient exfil. I have no idea what we can do with these captured supplies besides selling them to the black market, and even if we did, we don't need anything. As the Avatar progress grows, so will the chosen knowledge of our whereabouts. The only way to stop it is to attack special facilities, which just happen to be in locked regions which require lots of intel. Good thing we do have covert operations and fresh recruits to complete such crucial tasks without our input. This rescue mission is the exact moment I started believing that God actually exists. And he does have a sense of humor. Once things started to go horribly wrong, somehow I managed to miss my massive balls, even though I just sat there, and even managed to resist panicking after getting wounded. However, seeing the civilian getting wounded was too much to bear. Then, as if they were exploiting my only weakness, they ignored me and started focusing on the civilian, hoping I would get too depressed to fight. So we just pressed the fun button and just bailed. Killing nobody, but more importantly, not failing the mission. Fast forwarding to a few more hours of me flying around, collecting supplies, expanding base and assassinating targets, hacking some platforms, big explosions and superior tactics, we managed to reveal another chosen, hiding in eastern Russia, which gave us an opportunity to introduce ourselves. Why, good old war crimes, which I'm really starting to see the appeal of, as well as meet the new chosen and welcome him into the war. Managing to kill him, as well as rescuing 7 civilians out of 6 required, only to fail the mission. We got about 5 weeks until the next war crime simulator mission. So now we can just focus on construction, propaganda, and actually having the ability to treat my soldier. Feel like we're going to need it. These missions are starting to get a little crazy. We're also getting some good abilities too. In order to attack the facility, I've decided to upgrade the weaponry, unlocking magnetic weapons and a better rifle, which in turn makes us more stealthy, confusing the enemies even further and making it easier to complete harder missions. Until Tai Lopez shows up, of course, knocking us out and extracting that sweet knowledge, which is of course all according to my master plan. The master plan of getting killed. That plan was to attack a heavily guarded alien facility in the operation called Sacred Priest, having to sneak past a few guards and a powerful snake, aka your ex-girlfriend. Let's just say I had an idea in mind. All I had to do was to lure them next to the house, because AI will actually begin to follow your position if you take too long, which makes them ripe for exploitation. Now this next part is going to be really important, so you might want to write this one down, alright? Here goes. Luck. Easy as that. The rest of the level was cakewalk, literally planting C4 under fire and leaving the rest of them to die in a set fire, except for these two. Of course, if you do get lucky, the game will decide to laugh in your face as it's undoing all of your progress in literal seconds, making us do missions that we don't feel like doing. No, I don't think I will. God forbid I have the audacity to say no. After getting bombed with endless notifications, we get a time frame. I definitely wouldn't leave my drink unattended around the game. So without any choice or say in the matter, we had to attack yet another facility, getting into an awkward situations, once again getting so lucky that I'm starting to fear what sort of retribution the game will send my way. I decided it would be best just to run away, not before calling in more reinforcements against myself, and that's why we're dipping early.